Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a close look at the recent movements in the digital asset market. We're guided specifically by this Market Watch article you shared with us.
Mhm.
Our mission, really to get beneath the surface of the numbers, the trends the source presents. We want to help you quickly understand, the picture it's painting of the market right now.
Exactly. We'll pull out the key data points from this article, sure. But more importantly, we'll explore what they might mean together, kind of connect those dots, and highlight what this particular snapshot, well, suggests about the forces at play.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting where the article does. Bitcoin, its journey over just the last few days. The source kicks off noting its volatility, mentions a price slip Monday evening, down to $107,500 before bouncing back a bit.
Right, and that slip kind of sets the stage. Seeing $107,500 tested early in the week, it establishes a baseline for the volatility the source is getting at.
Absolutely. And then the source points to a really key moment last Wednesday. After sort of hovering, dipping below $107,000 Bitcoin, as the article puts it, it made history. Broke through $107,000, pushed past the old January 2025 high, around $109,100, and actually hit $109,800, though it notes that peak immediately saw like a quick $3,000 drop.
And that specific sequence the article describes, breaking a big prior high, setting a new one, then correcting sharply right after,
Yeah.
that's really telling. It suggests, based on this source anyway, that while there's clear buying momentum into new highs, there's also pretty significant resistance or maybe profit-taking
Sure.
waiting right at those peaks. It wasn't a smooth ride higher.
Okay. So you hit a new high, pull back a bit.
Right.
Then what does the source say happened next? Thursday, Bitcoin Pizza Day apparently brought what the article calls an even more impressive leg up.
Right.
Bitcoin soared, reaching almost $112,000. Another fresh all-time high.
Yeah, and the timing there, as presented by the source, it does raise a question, doesn't it? Was this just technical momentum, for breaking the previous high? Or could something like a known calendar event, like Bitcoin Pizza Day with all its history,
Yeah.
could that add a bit of extra positive feeling, fuel the move? The article notes the timing, which is interesting.
But that momentum didn't hold. The article points to Friday bringing a different kind of influence. Trump's tariff recommendations against the EU. The source explicitly says this news brought pain and uncertainty, and it caused BTC to slip back significantly, hit that $107,500 level again.
And this is a crucial point the source highlights, I think. It really shows how external stuff like geopolitical or economic news, things seemingly outside the digital asset world, they can have a direct and pretty swift impact on the price. The market, as described here, it seems very sensitive to global uncertainty.
It definitely seems $107,500 was a level the market was watching closely. The source notes Bitcoin defended it over the weekend. Then, looking at Monday's trading action detailed in the article, it started gaining traction, jumped up to a daily high of $110,500. But then, by the evening, slumped right back down again to $107,500.
So throughout this whole period the article covers, it shows $107,500 acting repeatedly as both a floor when prices fall and maybe a ceiling or resistance point when they try to rise. It represents a key battleground level where buying and selling pressure were pretty balanced according to this snapshot.
And as the article wraps up its look at Bitcoin, it mentions the price had recovered most of those Monday evening losses, standing around $109,500.
Yeah.
It also gives some broader context, market cap near $2.180 trillion, and dominance over alts at 61%.
That 61% dominance figure noted by the source, that's significant. It tells us Bitcoin still represents, well over half the total market value mentioned here, indicating its continued weight in potentially influencing the overall market sentiment or direction, at least from this source's perspective.
Okay, so shifting gears from Bitcoin's pretty dramatic moves. The article also gives us a snapshot of Ethereum and the wider altcoin landscape. It notes Ethereum's status during this volatile Bitcoin period as stable at the $2,600 level.
Right. That stability for Ethereum, especially when you contrast it with Bitcoin's wild swings we just discussed from the source, that's one of the first key takeaways the article seems to present. When you look beyond BTC, it just wasn't seeing the same sharp ups and downs.
Exactly. The source notes ETH saw a near 2% increase since yesterday. But when you look at the general picture for most other altcoins covered in the article over that same recent period, it's different.
Yeah.
The source suggests a trend of charting some losses. It mentions a recent high flyer, HYPE it calls it, which lost steam after its latest all-time high, retraced by 3.5%.
Okay, so this part of the article highlights a divergence within the market itself. While Ethereum held pretty steady, many other alts were pulling back. maybe seeing some profit-taking after their own runs, like that HYBE example suggests.
Yeah, and the article gives specific numbers to illustrate this mixed picture. Beyond HYPE, SCY is mentioned, slipping by a similar amount, around 3.5%. Then we see larger drops for XRM, down 5.5%, and PI, down 4.3%.
These specific figures, as reported, they just underscore that the pullback wasn't uniform, right? Some assets saw, well, more significant losses than others over this particular time frame.
But on the flip side, the source does note some exceptions to this general trend. BNB and TRX are both mentioned as being slightly in the green.
Okay.
And among the top 100 altcoins, the article highlights a few notable gainers, too.
Yes, it points out QNT as the only one with a double-digit price gain. That's a significant individual move against the general trend described. It also lists TKX and Virtual, both up 7%, and INJ up 6%. So some definite outliers.
It even specifies the altcoin that dropped the most among the top 100 over the past day, covered XRM, down that 5.5%. The article wraps this section up by giving the total crypto market cap as around $3.570 trillion, noting it was essentially the same level as yesterday.
So when we step back, look at the whole picture this article presents. Bitcoin's volatility, Ethereum's stability, this varied performance across the alts. It's interesting that the total market cap stayed relatively flat.
Right.
It suggests that while there were significant movements within the market, the overall value held steady during this specific period, suggesting maybe flows of capital between assets rather than a big inflow or outflow for the market as a whole. That's what this snapshot seems to indicate.
So bringing it all together, what does this specific snapshot from the article really tell us about the digital asset market right now?
Well, if we synthesize the different pieces presented in the source, it paints a picture of a market showing really diverse dynamics at the moment. Bitcoin, the biggest asset, is shown as highly reactive, both to hitting new price levels and to external global news, leading to that sharp volatility, those rapid corrections, even right after setting new highs.
While Ethereum, number 2, seems to be navigating this period much more calmly, holding steady while Bitcoin swings wildly.
Exactly. And the rest of the market, as shown by the varied altcoin performance, it's not moving as one single block. Some are correcting after recent gains, probably profit-taking, maybe coin-specific factors, while a few individual assets are charting significant gains, suggesting specific catalysts or trends might be driving performance coin by coin, rather than some broad market tide lifting everything.
So this snapshot really serves as a powerful illustration of just how dynamic this market is, showing price levels acting as key points of conflict, how quickly external news can feed into price moves, and that different parts of the market aren't always moving together in the short term, all within the time frame this specific article covers.
Yeah, it frames this moment as a typical example of, well, what it means to track digital assets. You get these periods of dramatic price discovery, swift pullbacks, and the undeniable influence of factors you might not initially connect to the space.
That was a really insightful deep dive into this Market Watch article. We saw Bitcoin hitting those dramatic new highs, reacting sharply to news, Ethereum holding remarkably steady, and just a fascinatingly mixed bag for other digital assets.
And based purely on the data and observations in this specific source, it does leave you with an interesting question to consider. How is it that external events, like recommendations on trade tariffs, can have such a direct, immediate, and explicitly described impact on the prices of digital assets, as highlighted right here?
Definitely something to think about. Thank you for sharing this source material with us for this deep dive.